Everybody, we'll get started in just a few minutes. Well, good morning, everybody. Good to have you here on a Tuesday morning. And we're almost all the way. Well, we're not almost all the way, but we're getting nearly the end of July already, aren't we? Time is moving so fast. Before we know it, we'll be moving into fall again. And we'll be, at least in this neck of the woods, we'll be facing all the challenges that come with fall, with the winter and the snow and the ice and everything else. Any of you that live in cold cultures and geographic areas know what I'm talking about. Um, but we won't worry about that now. We actually are in a pretty warm spell right here in Wisconsin, and next week is supposed to be even warmer. So we'll just continue to enjoy the summer as long as we can, and not be worrisome at all about the winter that inevitably will land in this area. So, but it's great to have everybody here. We're going to be checking out a machine. I would say it's more in the contemporary realm, and it came all the way with its brother, came all the way from the great state of Utah. And Jane, who works in Utah in teaching children how to sew, is really, really excited to see that one of the two machines that she sent is now back online. And the challenge with these particular machines, you'll hear people say, well, I've got a contemporary quilting machine and a board went out, or the board went out. A lot of the contemporary machines will have multiple boards like this 7530. And just give you a glimpse of one of the boards. This is the base board, and this is one of the boards that's really critical to the functions of the machine. This entire plate on the bottom comes off, and then you can basically clean and service the board that way if there's a broken solder point or something like that. But this is only one of the three boards that's in the 7530's that came all the way from Utah. And Jane and I have had to work patiently together to track down donor machines so I can pull parts off of them like these boards and then get that other machine back on track again, functioning completely. One of the machines arrived and it was running continuously. Another one came and the screen lights up, but nothing responds on the machine whatsoever. And that's a board issue. So this particular board looks pretty good, doesn't it? But it's actually bad. And that's a tricky thing when you buy machines like this on Goodwill or Etsy or Pinterest and any of those other ones. They can look really good on the outside, like this machine back here. Whoops, knocking stuff over. Like this machine back here looks really, really good. I've got a pretty big workbench, but it's not big enough. So here's another 7530. They really are a good-looking machine. Really, really a good-looking machine. But this one also has two boards that have gone out on it as well. This is the other machine that Jane sent from Utah. So we are together collaborating to track down the necessary donor machine where I can pull the parts off of that one and get this machine back on track as well. And then there'll be two additional machines for Jane's students to learn sewing. And if Jane said she has a class coming up pretty quick this morning, but if she happens to join us in the live chat, if she wants to share a little bit more about her teaching and her business, teaching young people to sew, inspiring them to fall in love with sewing, I certainly would invite that. If she has a link she wants to share or anything like that, would love to learn a little bit more about the work that she's doing in Utah with young people to get them excited about trying sewing, whether it's on a German Pfaff, 7530 like this, or another vintage machine. We just want to get them to try it, to get excited about it, and to continue on with that next generation of putting these machines to work to create wonderful magical things. So I'm going to move this one to the side, give myself a little bit more space. And they are surprisingly heavy machines too. I guess we shouldn't be overly surprised by that, because the Germans tend to make machines that are built real well. And these machines are built very, very well, and are, at the time were still made in Germany when these machines were manufactured. So I'm going to try to get you involved with this live stream as much as possible as we put this machine to the test. First of all, I'll kind of walk you around it. I'll show you the lay of the land. And also, I want you to make note of the different stitch patterns that this machine is able to execute, because what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite you, as we did at the last live stream, to chime in and to express an interest in what stitch pattern you want this machine to sew. And then we'll see if we can put it to the test. We're not going to be doing any heavy sew-offs with this machine today. This is really a quilting and a crafting machine. And while it could certainly sew heavier, that's not going to be the focus of our live stream today. Our live stream is going to be to demonstrate the full functioning sides of it, and also to kind of celebrate a machine that was dead in the water, and now through the contribution of donor machines like this one, it's starting to come back on track now, and it's able to do its dance again. It's able to enjoy that greatness factor. So, but I'll first of all, before I walk you around the machine a little bit and kind of show you the stitches in that, look at the live chat real quick and say a quick good morning to everyone, and then we'll launch into this live stream and enjoy seeing what this 7530 can lay down on 100% cotton. And you might also be curious real quick before I shift over to the laptop, why do I have a spray bottle on the workbench? Why is the spray bottle sitting here right next to the machine? I would strongly recommend, if you have an electronic computerized machine like this, and not just in the wintertime when static electricity is more of a polarized issue, but as a general rule, whenever I sit down to a quilting electronic computerized machine like this, I always try to neutralize this static electricity that might be around the machine. Because if I happen to touch this carpet right here, and then I make contact with the machine, it's possible that static charge could be basically released into this machine. And because there are circuit boards right underneath this plastic cover on the front of the machine, that static charge could go through that plastic and could hit that board and could cause damage. Static electricity, if you've ever touched a light socket in the wintertime in particular, and you've gotten a jolt that literally feels like it's blown your finger off, the discharge of static electricity can be overwhelmingly powerful, and it can go through multiple layers of something, including the casing of this 7530. So what I do generally whenever I sit down to a machine, I don't soak it, but the area right around the bottom of the machine, I give it a quick little spritz of water so that I can try to reduce the likelihood. And you notice I didn't spray a ton of it on there, but a little bit of water will discharge and neutralize that static electricity that might get picked up on this carpet surface. And that way there's a lesser likelihood that somehow I would incidentally cause damage. Just like when if you're working on a machine and you have access to that circuit board, like this one here. Let's say you separate this from the machine, and you can see the circuit board right there in the shot. You can touch this circuit board if the machine is unplugged and off. But if this machine is plugged in, number one, you don't want to get shocked. But number two, even when the machine is in the off position, there's some reservoir because of the capacitor and the resistors. There's some reservoir of electricity in the board. So you never want to make contact with the board with your direct hands unless it's totally taken apart from the machine like this. And then again, you can take off the bottom and you can separate that board out and you can service that board. And there's quicker ways to service a board, so you don't have to make direct contact with it either. Most of you have heard of CRC. CRC is a good chemical for electronic equipment. It looks like this. And I don't use this extensively, but it's a great all-purpose cleaner, and it's designed to wick away, evaporate very, very quickly. So when I put this machine back together with the donor parts from the machine that I purchased for Jane, I took all the boards out and I cleaned them off the front side and the back side with the CRC electronic cleaner. What it does is it takes all the residue, anything that's sticking to the board that could cause that board to retain heat and to overheat, causes the failure of boards much earlier. So I'm not saying that you need to take this on, but if you send your electronic computerized machine to the workshop, that's one of the things that I'll do to make sure that the longevity of those boards will last just as long as possible. Because the reason boards will fail, just like the old radios and other things like that, as dust builds up in there, that dust becomes an insulator for keeping the heat and forcing the heat against those delicate components. So periodically, it's good to get a complete deep cleaning on a machine that's computerized and electronic to get that stuff off of the boards, so that machine on the inside runs cooler and those boards are protected and preserved longer so that they don't fail. That's really the big deal. Yeah. So I'm going to set this to the side too. This is surprisingly heavy too. And it doesn't even have a motor in it. It's just German engineering. Okay. So let me go around and greet everybody, and then we'll jump into this machine straight away. Well, of course, Susie from Minnesota was the first in the classroom today. I'm not surprised. So good morning to Susie over in Minnesota. Good morning also to Emma. Susie, those ladies are always on the spot and ready to take care of business. So I appreciate that. Good morning to Kathy King as well. Good morning to Kathy King. And good morning to Alex out in California. Great to have Alex here as well. And good morning to our needle ambassador, Jenny. Great to have Jenny here as well, part of the leadership team and also our ambassador for needles. Suzanne Coulter, great to have Suzanne here as well. And good morning to Teresa. Great to have Teresa in the classroom today. And good morning to Erin Allen. I always kid Erin Allen. Erin Allen is my favorite gal in the entire state of Vermont. So it's always great to have Erin here as well. Erin, you might remember, sent 2 different machines to the workshop over time. One was a Japanese style machine. The other one was a Swedish beauty. And hopefully those machines are continuing to serve her faithfully. Who else do we have? Scrolling. Oh, good morning to also my friend from New York, Candido. Great to have Candido here. And I think that's everybody. I think I said hello to everybody. So great to have everybody, both that's in the live chat and also other great to have you here as well. And when you, by all means, step into the live chat, share what you want to share about yourself, maybe what state you're from, what country you're from. And we would love to have the privilege and honor of meeting you, and just get a chance to gain from your knowledge as well. And if you're brand new to this classroom on Cow Country, the thing that you'll hear over and over again is sometimes a teacher, always a student. Sometimes a teacher, always a student. And that means all of us are in a position to step into that teaching role and to share our knowledge in these classroom settings. We learn from each other. And because of that setting, because of that culture of not having a person at the front of the class that is the sewing savant, and they give you instruction, and that's the totality of the classroom. In our classroom, everybody jumps in when they feel comfortable and they want to share nuggets of wisdom that they have from their life experiences and their sewing adventures. So know that that is the culture here. Know that you're able to step forward and share information. Know that you're able to reach into your toolbox and bring out knowledge that we otherwise would not have, that then once you share it, we're able to step out into other circles and share that information that you shared with us, with other folks. And it becomes a perpetual thing, doesn't it? Becomes a perpetual thing. So really, really exciting to have all of you here, whether you're in the shadows or whether you're in the live chat. And I think I have a text message already. So I'm just going to take a quick look at the phone and see what we've got. Okay, that was it was a text message from Becky over in Minnesota. You might remember I recently presented to you that Kenmore machine. I just let Becky know that everything is squared away on the project, and I'll be packing that machine up and getting it heading towards Minnesota by next week. And I always let folks know, kind of like I did in that reel that I showed you the other day on Facebook. There's so many things happening in the workshop. I'm preparing to pack machines. I'm servicing machines. I'm driving that 65 miles south to the paint shop. There's never a dull moment, never a dull moment in the workshop. And if you don't do Facebook and you didn't see that reel, let me see if I can just point the camera over that way real quick and kind of show you what else I'm working on beyond the 7530 that we're going to be looking at today. Oh, I can take this one away too. I forgot this was over here. So this is another 7530 right here that I actually got. I'll just show it to you real quick. I got this as a donor machine. And the board that's in Jane's machine now came off of this machine, along with a couple of other essential parts. So I would love to make every machine whole again, but sometimes a machine that is non-functional has to make the ultimate sacrifice, almost like donating a kidney or making some other sacrificial donation to help someone live. We have donor machines like this that will sacrifice themselves so that another machine like this one can experience greatness again and can go back down and be a part of teaching young people to fall in love with the sewing process and creating projects. So I'm just trying to move these things off the floor so I don't trip on them. All right, so let me grab the camera real quick. And I'll just show you over on this workbench. So you might have seen in that reel that I presented, this is the 222K that just came back from the paint shop. It had crackling on it in a number of spots. It had crackling, and it wasn't representative of being the queen of singers. And those of you that didn't know it, the 222K is referred to as the queen of singers. And this one really had some issues going on with it. This machine originally I acquired from our friend Robert over in Germany. This one came from Robert in Germany, and I'm not sure where it was being stored or how it was being kept, but there were a number of issues with the paint. And going through some paint shop magic, it's now just looking spectacular. You may not even be able to see the beauty of it in the shot, but she's quite a looker now. And then the other thing I shared in that reel is this machine right here that is going to be a one of a kind. It's going to be a one of a kind machine. This originally started as a Richmond branded National Sewing Machine. And as most of you know, the National Sewing Machine Company made about 150 different private branded machines for other manufacturers, or I should say for other sellers of sewing machines, ones that didn't want to have their own production. And I explained to the customer when they brought this machine in over a year ago that there was no decal patterns available for the Richmond machine made by National any longer. And they gave me creative right to come up with a one of a kind creation. And so what I've decided to do is, because National did private branding for a number of different face brand companies, including Wilcox and Gibbs, and they even did some products for Singer as well. What I decided to do on this machine is a one-off and make it a combination of a Wilcox and Gibbs and a Singer vibrating shuttle machine. So as you look at the decal patterns, you're going to see a combination of the Indian pattern and also some of the Wilcox and Gibbs patterns as well on here. And I decided to wrap part of the pattern around the pillar as well. I've not seen that done before. And once this machine is clear coated and gets more of a look like this, I think all of these decals are going to come together beautifully on this this Singer Wilcox and Gibbs one of a kind machine. So I'm kind of excited to get this into the paint shop again and finalize it with about 7 to 10 layers of clear coat, and then be able to show you this machine. The owners only want this machine as a display machine. It's only going to be for display, but I'm going to see, because I've got the shuttle, I'm going to see if I can set it up so that it's able to sew if anyone in their family ever decides they want to put it to use. But I don't get a chance very often, because I always try to stay pure and true to the intent of the manufacturer. But in this instance, I was able to take a different path with the permission of the owners, actually with the enthusiastic encouragement of the owners, and be able to put together a one-of-a-kind machine that I think is going to be a lot of fun to have on display. A lot of fun to have on display. This is kind of a fun decal here as well. Yeah. So you won't see this machine anywhere else. You'll see remnants of it because of the decal patterns incorporated, but it's going to be a one-off and a one-of-a-kind for Cindy O'Leary and her family. And it was kind of cute. Susie, in looking at some of this on Facebook, had made the remark about how beautiful the paint was. But you can see right now, when you're getting ready to lay down decals, you actually have to go through a very careful roughing up process of the paint. The paint has to almost become chalky, almost kind of a chalky surface, which allows those decals to adhere to the paint surface. You generally never want to apply decals to a painted surface. You want to take that paint and very carefully rough that surface up so that decal will stick to it, will embed itself into that surface, and then you can fortify it and protect it with multiple layers of clear coat. So it's a real particular specific process when you're setting a machine up to be finalized. Yeah. So I'm only showing this to you because this is some of the other stuff I'm working on as well, in conjunction with presenting Jane's machine today. So always busy, busy, busy. Let me see if I can go underneath there. Hopefully I don't knock out the camera. All right, let me get that set down. I think I got another text message too. Let me take a look at that real quick. All right. I think I shared these with some of the leadership team members, maybe with Emma and with Susie, but some of the patterns, once I got this machine put back together and the parts that needed to be replaced were replaced, these are some of the stitches I just goofed around with just to check the output of the machine. And if you're fairly knowledgeable about places like this, then you'll recognize the first stitch pattern on top straight away. Hopefully you recognize it. I did another little stitch pattern there, another little one there, little one there, little one there, and then just some basic straight stitching, zigzag, blah, blah, blah. So we'll be checking this out more, and you'll be helping me pick the actual stitches that we're going to do. All right, now I'm going to look at that text message real quick. Who do we have? Oh my goodness, 5 unread. Okay, Susie just sent me a note saying that Jane, the owner of this 7530, will be in and out of the chat as she has students arriving. And that's totally understandable. I knew that Jane was going to be in class with her sewing students. And I explained to her that this live stream will become a video after the live stream is complete. So she's going to be able to go back and look at the comments being made, the live chat, and actually view the live stream as if she was there, even though it'll be kind of a replay. So thank you, Susie, for letting me know that. Appreciate that. What else? I think that's it. I think that's all the messages, at least for texting right now, that I need to look at. Okay, just going to check one other thing real quick. I want to do a quick check on our live stream and check the audio and the video to make sure that we're good to go. I'm going to turn the volume down as well. When I did a check on the upload speed this morning, initially it was pretty poor, and then I did a reboot on the modem, and then it picked up quite a bit. So hopefully we don't have any streaming issues today. Hopefully. Yes, Kathy King is right. Kathy King wrote, is that the Sydney Opera House? And it is indeed. Got that as a gift from a gentleman that actually lives on the island around Australia. It's called Tasmania. And some of you that have been with me a very, very long time will remember way back when I shared with you pictures that he sent us from Tasmania. Tasmania is a little island, whatever, right around Australia. It's kind of like connected somehow. You can tell I'm not going to ever teach geography class. That's not going to happen. But a wonderful gentleman. He really looked like he could be a storyteller with his beard and other things like that. And I shared pictures, and then he shared pictures of the sewing book that I mailed him because he had won one of the impromptu contests that I did back then. And he was skeptical. He was skeptical that I would pay the expense of sending him a Singer sewing book all the way to Tasmania, Australia. But I sure enough did. And so he then shared some beautiful pictures of Tasmania. You want to talk about a picturesque place during the live stream. For curiosity's sake, if you want to Google Tasmania, Australia, go ahead and do that, and you'll be amazed at what it is. But in following what I did to send him that stuff in Tasmania, Australia, here this came in the mail as a thank you. And I just saw one of our friends. See if I can get this shot still there. One of our friends that was following on Facebook has the Opera House on their cover page. And what a spectacular edifice of architectural design. Just a beautiful thing, isn't it? Really is quite spectacular. All right, I'm just going to see if I can. So yeah, looks like we're doing pretty well right now. Looks like we're doing pretty well. I'm seeing a clear screen. Let me check the audio real quick. Pretty well right now. Looks like we're doing pretty well. I'm seeing a clear screen. Let me check the audio real quick. Pretty well right now. I love that when I do like the audio check, it like echoes. Kind of crazy. Okay, so I'm going to leave that open just so I can keep an eye on things, make sure that we're doing well as far as quality and clarity, etc. And then we will go around this machine now. Yeah, let's go around it. And this is a manual that came with the donor machine that I got. The Germans love to have a comprehensive resource for their sewers, making sure there's nothing left to chance. And so the book has troubleshooting. It's got maintenance. It explains all of the feed attachment. It even gives you a quick little card for doing lettering with the machine as well. And with this particular donor machine, I was kind of surprised, but it also included, let me see if I can find it. It also included the original invoice for the machine as well when it was purchased in Ohio. This machine, I should say, not Jane's machine, but the machine that I used to get this machine for Jane back up and going. Those parts came off of a machine that originally was purchased in Ohio. Let's see, Westerville, Ohio, and it was purchased by Sonia. I'm not even going to try to say Sonia's last name. I'll show it to you, and then you can try to pronounce it. But back in the day, looks like it was purchased new back in 2001. Back in 2001, the customer that bought it paid over $2,000. Over $2,000 for this, for the 7530 model. So you can see the original purchase sheet there. Where's the price? Right there. There's the price right there. You can see it was sold by a sew and vac. No surprise, right? Sew and vacs, when you take your vintage machine in, they're always going to try to talk you out of servicing it or repairing it, because they want you to buy a machine like this and spend several $1,000s. That's their bread and butter. That's their bread and butter. But it's always good to have providential information like this about the machine. And even today, and Jane can attest to this, even today, the 7530 is still commanding a price of anywhere from $1,500 all the way up to the original sale price of $2,000. It's kind of like buying a real nice vintage car that just continues to appreciate in value. The 7530 is one of those rare machines that as it gets older and older, it not only holds on to its value, but in many ways, considering this was bought, these were made back in the 2000 time frame, 23 years ago. They still not only maintain their value, but they actually appreciate in value as well because of their advanced technology. The Germans are always ahead of the game. Yeah, this was purchased on the donor machine I got for Jane to get this machine back online was purchased in February of 2001 out in Ohio. So, yeah, I don't know. I wonder what happened to Sonia. Don't you? Oh, I didn't show you Sonia's last name. I don't think I did. And nobody, if she still lives here, don't write her a letter. Don't send her a letter. I don't know if that's focusing or not. I don't think it is. That's totally out of focus. See that? There's like a privacy thing engaged. It's protecting Sonia. But yeah, Sonia has a very interesting last name. It's like Formaduval or something like that. She's from Ohio, obviously. So, all right. So let me move these to the side. But yeah, Pfaff, like a lot of the manufacturers, does a really, really good job in making the manual a resource in so many ways, understanding your machine, maximizing the functions of the machine, servicing your machine, troubleshooting your machine. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. This particular book is about 180 pages long. So, and I'll check with Jane. I have, I'm glad to share this with Jane if she needs an additional book for the 7530 for her students. And I'll send this back with the second 7530 once they get the additional parts needed for that one. And then some original 7530 and also its predecessor, the 7510, promotional materials. They show you all the pretty people, all the pretty stitches it can do. There's also kind of like the original machine in this series goes all the way back to the 1470 CD. And then there was a 1475 CD. And they were the ones that developed these embroidery, create your own stitch type of attachments that most people never used them. They never used these attachments because they were very cumbersome. And if you wanted to create your own stitch, you literally have to plot every single point of that pattern where that needle is going to strike. So you can imagine if a pattern is comprised of, say, 500 or 600 stitch points, you've got to plot each one of those dots using this creative attachment that goes with a lot of these series machines that were in the creative series that Pfaff rolled out in the early, probably like around trying to think what year they've been, probably like around 1993, 1994. Yeah. And again, it's just kind of fun to have, material like this because it takes you back to ground zero on how they were promoting these machines when they first rolled out. What else? Here's another one, exploring. This one's kind of tattered a little bit, exploring new sewing horizons with Pfaff snap-on sewing feet. Snap-on sewing feet apparently were a pretty big deal. And unlike a lot of the sewing feet, like recently that Bernina machine that I showed you, where there's a release on the back of the presser foot attachment that you push up to release that foot, on the Pfaff attachments, all you do is pivot them and they pop off, and then you snap them back on. Or they oftentimes will show you all you do is set it like in relation to the presser foot bar, and you lower the presser foot bar and then it snaps on right away. But snap-on feet are one thing that some people just love, and other people are not in love with snap-on feet. I happen to be in that latter category where I'm not a huge fan. I understand the convenience. I understand the ease of being able to change between presser feet attachments, but but I don't like how they have a little bit of a play to them, a little bit of a swivel when they're mounted on, and that sometimes can make it a little bit more difficult to get a true and straight feed of that material. So that's the only thing I'm not a huge fan about them. But at any rate, let me walk you around the machine and let's get going. I'll set these to the side as well. So a quick walk around Jane's machine. The first thing I'll show you is a nice little cubby space here for storing all kinds of extra goodies. I'm going to shut off the light real quick so you can see that more easily. So we got this nice little container drawer here where we can put all of our extra snap-on feet, seam guides, buttonholers, extra bobbins, and then underneath we've got additional space for spool pin for bobbin winding, extra oil for servicing and maintaining the machine, maybe put extra needles down here, all kinds of added space where you can enjoy having those things with the machine. And if you go to a quilting retreat or an expo or something like that, you don't have to be concerned about leaving something behind because it goes with the machine everywhere anyway. And then you just rotate it out like this, just lift her up, and it comes right off. And then you've got access to the free arm. Now, the only thing I'll say about the free arm on the Pfaff machines in general is that they tend to be quite a bit wider than the Husqvarna free arms. They're quite a bit wider. So if you're looking to do real small cuffs like on a child's garment or something like that, this is probably not going to be your first pick as far as a free arm machine. It's quite a bit wider. I would say it's probably, I'm just going to estimate. Let me decline that call. I'm just going to decline that call. So across this free arm is probably just about 3 inches. Just about 3 inches across. Whereas a Husqvarna one is going to be a little bit over 2 inches. So it's going to be over an inch more narrow than the Pfaff free arm. And depending on the type of work you're doing, the type of projects, that could really make or break you. So just be aware of that. After this this live stream, if you're inspired to want to pick up a 7530, I think it'd be a really wise thing to do if you can find one that's under $2,000. But just be aware that from a standpoint of the free arm, it's a little bit bulkier, Okay, so let's take a look at this machine again. Let me turn that light on. I don't think we're going to be able to see the screen because it's a liquid display. So I think it's going to goof around with the camera. Yep, it is. Camera's not going to like that at all. But when you look at all these controls, it's incredibly intimidating. Those of you that sat down to a Singer 401A, you can look at those 401A controls and go, holy mackerel. You feel like you're in the cockpit of a commercial airliner. But when you look at this 7530, there are so many different buttons. Everything from needle up to pattern images to twin needle. I mean, it goes on and on, reverses over here. And I'm not even going to try to cover all of these, but it does cover all of them in the manual very, very nicely. So having a manual for this machine, I would say is a very, very important thing to do. Now, as far as the patterns on this, I should show you this as well. Here's our faceplate opening right here. This is where we're going to be able to drop the feed dogs right there. We're just going to slide that to the right, and the feed dogs will drop for darning and for free motion quilting, etc. And then you push it back to the left, and then those feed dogs will pop back up again. There are no screws for regular servicing of the machine.
there are no screws for the faceplate, or excuse me, for the throat plate. For the throat plate that goes over the feed dogs, you simply get, what I would recommend is you get like a little screwdriver and you just gently pop this up, and there's two clamp points on the side that snap it in place. But you'll want to remove this periodically, and make sure you clean underneath there, get all that lint out, and get all that area tidied up. But the great news is you don't need a screwdriver. Most plates like this for the feed dogs and for the throat plate are going to be held on by at least two screws, sometimes more. On this one, all you need is a small little screwdriver to pop it off, and then you can get in there and service the machine. Same thing with the faceplate, but to get to the faceplate area, you'll have to go through some additional steps on top that I'll explain to you how to do that. Yeah, while we're looking at the faceplate, I'll just show you real quick. This is our upper tension control right here, this little dial. So as you need more upper tension, if your lock stitch is looking kind of loose, you just bump this up a little bit higher. So that's upper tension on the side. And yeah, what else? Let's just look at the stitches. I can show you over here real quick. Let me move that over. On-off switch right there for the machine. Clutch release, and it's a single click. You click it towards you to disengage it. You click it away to lock it back in place again. So very straightforward, very, very easy. And you'll notice, as I had mentioned earlier, the 7530 was a machine that was still being made in Germany. So you know it's got that quality and Western German engineering. That's a big deal. To open up the top so you can look at all those beautiful stitches, you just kind of reach underneath the edge here, kind of pop this up, and you can see all the stitch patterns going across here. I'll kind of go across and I'll show them to you. And just make note of the number if you see one that really, really catches your fancy. I'm not going to be doing any of the alphabet type letters over here, but all the other ones are open for consideration. So I'll kind of start and kind of go across, and you can look at these. Hopefully you can see them. Let me see if I can, let me change the angle on that a little bit, see if I can give you a clearer image of them. I'll hold it real still. And I can also, like we did on one of the other machines, I could take a picture of these maybe. I don't think they don't have all of these stitch patterns in the book. Yeah, I'm getting an awful shadow. Getting an awful shadow in here. I'm going to try to take a picture of them. I'll take a picture of the groups, like group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'll show them to you. It'll be a lot easier to see them. But these are where you get your stitch patterns up here. And then also you can do all kinds of embroidery of lettering as well with this machine. But probably taking a picture of these is going to be the best bet, I think. Let's see, what else? Yeah, I'm not going to cover a lot. Oh, if you want to service the machine deeper, let me just show you that real quick. If you want to service the machine deeper, there's a screw right here. There's another screw right here. Those are the only two screws you need to take out. Take out that screw, take out this screw, fold the lid down, lift the handle up, and then you can just work that piece off of there to take this entire insert area out. And then you'll be able to get to all the pertinent service areas on the machine. Do not take this screw out right here, because there's a nut on the other side that is not held on. It's going to drop down into the machine near the motor. So don't make that mistake. Leave this one alone. Take that one out. Take that one out. And then you should be able to lift this lid up. Once you take this insert out, you'll see all of the mechanics of the machine. You also have access to the circuit boards on the front as well. And then you can do some appropriate servicing on those. And then you'll also, once you get this insert out, you'll be able to access the screw that holds the faceplate on. And then you'll be able to service the important mechanical components inside of the faceplate area as well. So kind of get a better shot when I go straight down, don't I? Kind of like that. It's still going to be difficult to see it though. Yeah, I think taking a picture is going to be our best bet. It's going to be our best bet, I think. Okay, as far as setup, I've got my good old trustworthy Coates and Clark. And I believe I've got a size 90. It's an embroidery needle though, a stick needle embroidery needle like this is what's in the machine today. So I always talk about the embroidery needles being 7511's. Schmetz also makes an embroidery needle in a larger size for heavier sewing when you're doing embroidery type work. So we're going with the larger of the two needles today, a size 9014 stick needle embroidery needle by Schmetz, along with the Coates and Clark thread, So yeah. Oh, let's see. I'll just show you something else real quick. So if you end up getting one of these machines and you've got an option, this is the original. I'll just show this to you real quick. This is the original power cord that would have come with the 7530. And they had a lot of issues with it. They had a lot of issues with this inner part that has the copper contacts to feed the electricity to the machine coming apart from the other one. They basically, let me see if it goes like that. They basically pull apart. They pull apart much easier than they go back together. But at any rate, the power cords that Jane sent were this style, and they're very problematic. That copper tends to break, and then when you plug it in and you unplug it, this stays in the machine, and this is in your hand. So what I did is I had a replacement cord. Let me see here. Isn't that funny? There it goes, finally went back together. So that's the way it's supposed to be, but they inevitably will break, and then this comes off in the machine, and then you got a little bit of a mess getting it out. So what I did instead is I got this replacement that Pfaff came out with because they got so many complaints about that style of power cord. They came out with one like this that has the rubber casing all the way to the end to make it a single unit and to make it a real sturdy plug-in cord that's not going to break. It's not going to come apart like the original one that they had. So this is the one that's going to go back with Jane's machine. I don't have another one of these, but I'm gonna see if I can seek one out and go ahead and when we get that second machine done, send it back with the same kind of power cord so she or her students don't have issues with the section on the end breaking off like the original. All right, I think that's everything I wanted to cover. So let me do this. Let me get a couple pictures of these stitches because I want to try to involve you in helping to choose the stitches that we do today. And then we're going to put this machine to work and see what we can deliver as far as stitch output. Give me just a moment here. Doing a quick check on some other messages while I'm right here. Well, I hope everybody's having a good week so far. I hope everyone's enjoying the summer as it is. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Susie found the manual online apparently, and it shows all of the stitches. And she posted a link in the live chat. Pages 12 to 17 show the different stitches that the 75 do. That saves me the step of trying to show you the pictures. That everybody check the link and make sure that it's working okay. Then it's showing all of the patterns. We should have almost 200 patterns to choose from, almost 200. That's great. Thank you for doing that, Susie. That's fabulous. Just give me a few seconds here, and I'm just want to do a couple things so I don't have to be distracted by them while we're doing this. And if anyone has a 7530, other than obviously Jane, I think Jane may have a couple of other machines like this in her inventory for the students. If anyone has one of these, by all means, share your knowledge about it. Because again, I'm going to be covering the high level functions of this machine. I'm not going to be going to every single button that this machine has, but I'm sure that that's also in the same manual link that Susie posted. So if you're curious to look at those button function machine, you can by all means do that. You can by all means do that. Okay, I'm all done. I'm all done doing my my homework, and now I can focus back on the task at hand. Almost. I want to make sure it says I have 5 text messages. See if they're all from Susie. Oh, Emma sent a message that Jane joined us, but that was a while ago. That was like a half an hour ago. So I think that's an old message. Info. Yeah, that's great. That's great. So yeah, check out the link that Susie posted, and then when we get to that point of picking stitches, by all means chime in and have a voice about the stitch patterns you'd like me to try to lay down on this cotton today with Jane's machine. Okay, let me put this phone down because I want to focus on moving forward with the live stream and not trying to get caught up on these. But if you text me, I'm going to look at it. If you send a text, I'm going to go ahead and look at it. Okay. So let me move this back. Oh, I should probably cover that as well. I probably should cover that as well. I was going to say, I didn't describe the threading process on this machine, which is also obviously in the manual. That's going to be in the manual as well. But I'll just go over it real quick with you. So you can see we have a horizontal feed as far as the thread. And I always talk about this. I think I talk about it quite a bit. But you'll have different options as far as a spool pin holder to hold that spool pin in place. They usually give you different sizes. You've got a larger one like this. You got a teeny tiny little one like this. And then you have a medium-sized one like this. Make sure that depending on the type of spool of thread you're using, that you fit the spool retainer cap or whatever you'd call it to the spool of thread. It should be just high enough on the edge that it's going to push that thread away from feeding across the edge of the thread spool. And the reason that is the thread spool top tends to have some rough edges on it. Sometimes it even has notches in it as well that thread can snag on. And you want that thread to be able to move over the top of that without catching that rough edge. So just make sure you fit it appropriately. Bigger is better than too small. This is right on the edge. It's almost too small, but it seems to function well. And then off of this spool, you come through this thread guide point over here. You're going to kind of come around the back, down across here on the left side of the channel. And then when you come down through the bottom, you're going to be going up here through the take-up arm, and then you'll be coming back down the same channel on the right side. And there's 2 different little thread snap points right here. Just come through that right snap point. Hopefully you can see that. See if I can go like this. Come through this red snap point. You have to bring it in from the right side and snap it underneath there. And then you're going to come down to the needle and thread it from front to back. So it's a little bit backwards. Oftentimes with sewing machines, we will come down the left track, kind of come around like this, and then come up and then come back down. And this one, you have to do the opposite. You start on the left, you come down this channel, you go up the right channel, come through that take-up arm, and then come back down the right channel again, down to the needle. So it's a little bit opposite of what we're used to seeing. It's a little bit opposite. All right, let me get that closed again. All right, turn this on. So I'm going to look at the live chat and see if there's any input on potential stitches to try. Otherwise, I'll just launch into some, and we'll kind of just go step by step. Oh my gosh. It looks like our group is back again. We've got some really, really high view numbers right now of people in the stream. And I know that Susie and the leadership team has probably already done it, but we're so glad to have you here. We're so honored that you took time out of a busy Tuesday to join us. And we hope that you'll consider stepping into the live chat and introducing yourself. You know, just it's exciting to have this big of a family on Cow Country. I remember back in the day when I was first starting to do this on YouTube, if we had 5 or 6 people show up for a live stream, we were downright excited. We were downright exciting. And Emma reminded me the other day that there was a time back when Paula Noel was still with us, and there were only 3 of us in that live chat and in that live stream, or back then it would have been a video, I guess. There was Emma, Paula, and myself. That was it. So to see numbers like this on a Tuesday morning where we're almost approaching 500 people watching this live stream right now, what a blessing that is. And we're so honored to have all of you here. And with that said, let me go ahead and see if there's any input as far as stitch selections. And then we'll launch into this machine so that we can showcase Jane's machine that's going to be put back into use for her students down in Salt Lake City, Utah, down in Utah. And if some of you have never been to Utah, it is such a pretty place. Oh my gosh, it's such a pretty place. I flew into there on business one time, and the hills, the mountains, just the terrain is just spectacular. Just spectacular. Amazing. Oh my gosh, we're over 500 now. Wow. Embroidery stitch 58. Embroidery stitch 58. Let me see if I can find 58. Now, I'm going to be able to show you what's on the screen because it's liquid crystal, or it's liquid display. But I'll show you how to get to it. So the one that Susie wanted to see is, hold on a second. I just had it. Now I lost it. Where is it? Hold on a second. That's funny. Oh my gosh. Susie, I saw your stitch and now I can't see. Oh, 58. I was looking for the stitch that you had. 58. I better punch it in before I forget it again. So when you open up the machine, let me do this. I'm going to put the camera kind of between my legs and show it to you this way. So when you first turn this machine on, I'm going to shut it off again. When you first turn the machine on, if it has the wrong language, then you just hold number 1 in, hold this number 1 in right here, and then hit the power button. And when you do that, it's going to come up to a language screen. I don't know if you can see that or not. You probably can't. But it's going to come up to a language screen. that gives you an option of German, French, English, and Spanish. And you just hit the corresponding number. So if you want German, you hit 0. If you want French, you hit 2. If you want Spanish, you hit 3. And if you want English, you hit 1. So being English speaking, I'm going to hit 1. And then it automatically starts. Again, it's a Quilting and a Craft Pro machine. And for most quilters, their default as far as their stitch length is going to be 2.5. And the Pfaff people being really smart, they right away have it pop up to a straight stitch with a 2.5 default as far as the stitch length. So that again is where they try to make it very appropriate to the sewist and very practical and very easy to use for the sewist, starting with a straight stitch, starting with a 2.5 stitch length, which the majority of quilters will use. Now, beyond that, if we want to go into the decorative stitch options up here, any of these that you can see across there, or more appropriately, any of those that you can see in the link that Susie posted, we have to go to this button right here, the 0 through 9. You just hit that once, and then you enter the pattern number that you're wanting to sew. Susie wanted to see 58, I believe. Let's see, 58. Not going to be able to see it really, but 58 is going to be right there. 58 is right there. You can't see it, but there it is. And then you just punch in 58 for the pattern. 5, 8. And then hit OK. And it's going to automatically set. It's going to automatically set the stitch width. It's going to set the stitch length. It's going to set all of the defaults, including presser foot pressure and everything else to manage that particular pattern. So unless you decide you want to override it, all you do is punch in the pattern number, hit OK, and you're ready to go. It's that easy. So let's try to do this first one using this stick natal embroidery needle. Again, a size 90-14. And we'll see what we think of this particular pattern. And on this 7530, I'll just tell you that it does pull the thread a little bit when you launch. So I would recommend, maybe keeping a hand on that thread just for a little bit as you're getting ready to initiate the sewing process. All right, let's see if we can get this going. All right, here we go. Check my angle. It looks like a good angle. Oh, looks like I didn't have good traction right at the beginning. When I first launched, I didn't have the material all the way underneath the presser foot. I had it kind of on the edge a little bit so I could start closer to the top of the material. And again, one of the detriments for me, at least, when it comes to these snap-on feet is they have that little bit of a pivot to them, a little bit of a swivel, and you got to I've got to remember to stick that material further underneath the presser foot so that it gets better launch and traction. Initially, we were basically spinning, and you'll see at the end where we weren't getting an advancing of the material. That's a product of the presser foot design, that swivel on the, you see, if you look real close, look at that foot. See how it kind of swivels from side to side? So you've got to make sure when you're setting this up for sewing, get that material deeper underneath the presser foot, further to the back. Don't do what I did. Otherwise, you're going to have that material not start feeding, and you'll be sewing. You'll basically be spinning your wheels and sewing in one spot. Okay, so this is the pattern that Susie picked. I could show the top stitch first. And again, I'll kind of just show you. That's where I didn't have that far enough underneath the presser foot. See, we weren't getting any traction. The material wasn't advancing. We were stitching in one spot. And then all of a sudden, I gave it just a little bit of a nudge. And then it went further underneath the presser foot and started feeding very nicely. And again, remember, we're using a size 90 embroidery needle. So we're not going to have the same level of clarity of stitch as we would with, say, a 7511 or a size 70. But it's still going to be a real good looking stitch. Then our lock stitch, I'll turn it over to look at the lock stitch as well. And I'm looking at the stitching on this, and I'm seeing that it's a very, very good looking lock stitch, but we might have to increase our upper tension just slightly. I've got to turn down pretty far right now. We might have to bump it up. It's a little bit on the loose side, So lock stitch and the top stitch. You can see I didn't sew very straight either, did I? Didn't sew very straight. All right. I'm going to cut off my little end where I couldn't get any traction. Okay. Let me see if there's any other pattern selections that people have chosen. And we'll move on to the next one. We'll try another pattern that this Craft Pro can do. Hold on a second. 179. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write these down. It looks like we have multiple options. It looks like I'm starting with Emma's. Emma has pattern 66. And let's see. Teresa has 169 and 177. And Kathy King has 179. Now, if I missed anybody, please let me know. What I have so far is I've got Emma with pattern 66. And we just got done doing pattern 58. Pattern 58 for Susie.
So Emma has 66, Teresa has 169, 177, and then Kathy has 179. 179. So if there's others, please let me know that. But otherwise, we'll go ahead and go on to the next one. I'm also going to remember to adjust the upper tension real quick before I forget and just go up a little bit with it. We're set just a little bit below 7. I'm just going to go a little bit higher to about almost to 7.5. Again, that's our upper tension adjustment right there. That should be enough. I don't want to go too high. Okay, so let's do Emma's pattern 66. And again, when you're getting ready to go on to the next pattern, you just hit your pattern key again right here, 0 through 9. It's going to take you back to a clear pattern number. And then we just put in 66 and then OK. So this will be Emma's stitch now. We'll do Emma's next. And then we'll move on to Teresa's and Kathy's after that. Okay, pattern 66. And I didn't show you the foot controller bottom on this, I don't think. On this fall foot controller, normally we're used to having the gas pedal, so we push it down, right? From the top down. On the fall foot controllers, if you're not familiar with them, they've got a little depression point on the back of here, which would be the equivalent of the pedal. And as you push this down against the ground, this depresses, and that controls your speed accordingly. So it's just a little bit of a different design on it for the fall foot controllers. All right, keep those nearby so I can see those patterns. Okay, so we have Emma's pattern now. Let's give this a go. And I need to remember, because I'm in so much of the habit of always wanting to start right near the top, I've got to get out of that habit on this 7530 with this swivel snap-on foot and push that material a little bit further to the back so that I can get better traction over those feed dogs. There we go. I think that's far enough in, hopefully. All right, so let's do Emma's pattern now, see what we think of that. And I didn't even look at Emma's pattern to know what it looks like. Let's see what it is. Emma always picks the challenging ones, so let's see what it is. 66. Oh my gosh. That's a crazy pattern, Emma. What are you doing? That's crazy. I love it. Let me get a quick little soda drink here. And a shameless plug right now for our friends out in Iowa. This little cooler cover thing came from Iowa, from Kevin and Doreen, Corn Country. And it keeps my Diet Cokes cold for the entire live stream, which I appreciate. All right, let's give this pattern a try. This ought to be pretty cool. See how it does. Here we go. We might run on a thread just on this one pattern. This is a very complex pattern, and it's laying down a lot of thread to generate this pattern.
Emma, you are such a troublemaker. We're probably going to have to wind another bobbin just after doing your one pattern. Just after doing your one pattern, we're going to need another bobbin, for goodness sakes. Oh my gosh. I think Emma stays up late at night going, what can I do to make it really difficult on Scott? Oh my gosh. And I didn't sew very straight on that one either. I did not do such a great job. And I had the material in a better position this time. But it looks like I still did not have it far enough underneath there for these feed dogs to grab it right away. We kind of spun out in the beginning again. And yeah, other than that, it did a really good job. I did a horrible job of sewing straight with this because it's working with that tri motion. And as you're trying to steer it, the feed dogs are kind of pulling it around a little bit. So you kind of go a little bit cockeyed. But yeah, still a really good representation of what this 7530 is capable of doing. I'm going to kind of look at it this way. This is our top stitch. And again, realize we're using a size 90-14 needle. It's an embroidery needle, but it's a 90-14. So if you're going to be doing a ton of this stuff for a project, you want to seriously consider going down to the smaller size embroidery needle, 7511 or even a 70. But you can see here again, I wasn't getting enough traction. I'm just going to have to push that all the way underneath the presser foot so those feed dogs have a good grip on it and we don't have that stalling out, spinning the tires in the beginning, because that's what I'm getting with those feed dogs not being able to grab it. That little snap-on presser foot attachment kind of swivels a little bit, so it doesn't have quite the level of downward pressure that a standard presser foot attachment would, that's actually mounted directly to the presser foot bar. So just realize that when you're working with swivel feet, you got to give that material a deeper push underneath the presser foot so that it can have better traction. I'm learning that, but I'm so much in the habit of doing the opposite. It takes a little while, doesn't it? Yeah, really a pretty pattern though, really quite pretty. In our lock stitch. And you can see we adjusted that presser foot, we adjusted that upper tension up a little bit. So now we're getting a lot more clarity on that lock stitch, which is what we needed to do. That's a lot of thread. Like I said, we might have to rewind a bobbin in this process. Those patterns are very, very big on consuming the thread count for sure. Okay. Well, let me get this back underneath the presser foot and see if I might just flip it around and start on this end and then see if we can sew a little bit straighter than I've been doing. And I'll push that in deeper this time. I'll learn my lesson, hopefully. Now we've got it all the way underneath there so it can get better traction. So what do we have next? We've got Teresa's 169. Curious to see what that looks like. Oh, wow, that's a frilly one, isn't it? 169 is way over there. You're not going to be able to see it, but it's right there. So again, to get 169, we're going to hit the 0 to 9 button and then hit 169 OK. 169 OK. And it's going to be a real wide stitch. You can see we've got a default stitch width of 9. We've got a stitch length right around 25. So this is going to be quite a large pattern, I think. I hope we have enough room. Matter of fact, maybe I should start with a fresh piece. I'll start with this burgundy maybe and give it enough space to do this pattern. Okay, let's give this one a try, see what we think. And again, I would just hold onto that thread real quick as you're launching. All right, here we go. See, that time I learned my lesson. I pushed that material deeper underneath and she launched straight away. So just learn from my mistakes and don't start running the edge of the material. That tri-motion is really aggressive when it comes to grabbing that material. You really have to kind of hang on tight. All right, I'm gonna stop right there. What a beautiful pattern. And I don't have any skid marks or slide marks at the beginning because I finally learned my lesson of getting that material back into place deep into that presser foot because of that swivel factor. Yeah, this is quite a spectacular pattern. Let's take a look at this one now. This was Teresa's pattern 169. Teresa's pattern 169. Isn't that a beautiful pattern? Wow. And again, realize our clarity could be even better with a smaller needle. I just wanted to try the size 9014 embroidery needle, but you'll get better clarity, better stitch definition with a smaller needle. And certainly with a finer thread as well. Nothing against Coates and Clark. Nothing against Coates and Clark at all. But if you use a high-grade embroidery thread like that multicolored one we did on the 4th of July, you're going to get even a better clarity stitch pattern out of that. That's quite spectacular, quite spectacular. Lock stitch. No difference. Just a beautiful, beautiful stitch pattern. I'm guessing that Jane's students probably would pick this pattern just like Teresa did, because it's such a beautiful pattern. Yeah. Teresa has another pattern she picked out as well, pattern 177. So we're going to see if we can check that out also, 177. Okay, get that in place. So again, all we're going to do is hit the 0 to 9 button. We're going to hit 177. Okay. And this is going to be a little bit of a smaller pattern. It looks like it's going to be from a stitch length standpoint around 20. I think the other one we just did was 25. But still, there's going to be a lot of thread going down on this puppy. A lot of thread. So let's try this next pattern that Teresa picked out. And we'll be able to look at them side by side. And we've already done these, but I was concerned about having enough of a playground. But this one Emma picked out also is quite spectacular. Really quite a beautiful pattern. If you just joined us and you missed that. Yeah. And that's why this machine has maintained and even actually gone up in value, is because the technology for the late 1990s going into the year 2000, this machine was so far ahead other machines when it came to the complexity of the stitch patterns and the choice. It's just amazing. Just amazing. All right, let me see if I can get the right angle. I think I've got the right angle. All right, let's do this next that our friend Teresa picked out. Move that back just a hair. There we go. All right. All right, second pattern for Teresa. Here we go. I think I'm spinning. Hold on a second. I thought I had it far enough back there, but apparently not. Oh, this may be the elephant that she wanted to do. Doing this elephant with a size 90 needle, not a good idea. But I think we're still going to get a fairly decent elephant. There's so much thread overlay on this, it's crazy. When you're trying to fill that elephant in with the thread, just crazy. Over and over and over and over and over again. I think we're slipping on there. Yeah. We got a couple of elephants out of it, but a size 70 needle or a size 75 needle would have been a better choice on this elephant pattern, because there's so much overlay of the fabric with a thread. But we got some of the elephants anyway. We got some of the elephants. Our setup is not ideal. I should have set it up with the multicolored embroidery thread and with a smaller needle, but what was pushing the edges? Okay, so some of these elephants were not complete. Some of them were. So we'll take a look and see what we got. Looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, about five out of 6 elephants. Here's where I didn't have the material all the way in place, and we were sliding again. Not a big fan of snap-on feet, but some people love them. So let's take a look and see what we got from these elephants. Yeah, we would have been better off using embroidery thread. So just know that setup is a big deal. And for general decorative patterns, no problem. But when you get into some of these specialty decorative patterns where you've got a lot of tight overlay on a relatively small pattern, a size 90-14 needle, not a good choice. There's an elephant right over here that needs to be on a weight loss program. He needs to be on a weight loss program. That elephant is too big. There's our lock stitch. They're all holding each other's tails, which they really do in the wild. They really do that. Yeah. So I'm sure if you use an embroidery thread with a smaller needle, that elephant will be spectacular because the machine is doing what it needs to do, but it's not liking our setup very much. Not liking our setup. All right, let's do the next one. We'll move on to the next pattern now. And it looks like it's by Kathy 179. 179. So I'm going to hit the 09179. Okay. This is going to be a pretty long pattern too. Width is around 9. So we'll check this one out. I didn't look at it yet, so I have no idea what Kathy picked out. Oh, Kathy picked out the kangaroo. So the kangaroo isn't going to be quite as much of a challenge as the elephant. We should hopefully have a little bit more success with our kangaroo than with our elephant. Let's see how the machine needle handles this. I think we have some animal lovers, some African animal lovers in the audience today. All right, here we go. Let's make a kangaroo. Let's try to make a kangaroo. It definitely likes kangaroos better than elephants. The needle, I mean. The machine likes all animals. Jane 7530 loves all animals, but it's not too fond. The needle is not too fond of the elephant. That's for darn sure. I'm hoping somebody picks out some more of the decorative pretty patterns. But we're with animals for right now. Okay, so here's our top stitch. Let's look at that kangaroo as a starting point. There it is. See, that pattern's got a little bit more length to it, a little bit more width. So our bigger needle is able to work with this pattern better than that. Much easier to work with that kangaroo than with that elephant. It's amazing. Even a little ear. Notice the little ear on the kangaroo as well. That's a lot of overlay on these particular patterns that Teresa and Kathy picked with the animals. A lot of overlay. You're really grouping that thread together really, really tight. And that's where a smaller needle would really help us out, going to size 75 or 70 on these tighter overlay type patterns. Is there a lock stitch? Look at that. Kangaroo is jumping one way. He's jumping the other way. Yeah, very nice. Very, very nice. This is still my favorite down here. This one right here by my finger. That's a lovely one, isn't it? Cool. Very cool. All right. Well, I don't know if anyone else picked any other stitches or not, but I'm going to pick a couple, I think. I will pick a couple and try to lay them down next to the kangaroo. Let's see what we get here. What do we have? 107. That's pretty. So many. Almost 200 patterns. It's hard to just pick one. It's hard to pick one. I'm going to try 109. 109 is like a leafy pattern. 109. Let's see how that one looks. It says a leaf flower. Let's give this leaf flower a try. See what we think of that. Yeah, leaf flower. Oh, I like this one. Not nearly as complex as I believe the one that Teresa had picked out before, but it's pretty. It's nice. And it doesn't stress our mini harpoon needle quite as much as some of those patterns. Yeah, so this is a leaf flower design. This is design 109. 109. This is our top stitch. Imagine this with an embroidery thread. even greater clarity of this stitch pattern using a smaller needle really could be a lovely pattern to use on a number of different projects. And again, I'm going with the automatic default that the machine gives me. It starts with a default as far as stitch width and stitch length, but as you become more intimate with your machine, you can always override that, and you can adjust that stitch width and stitch length to your liking. So you could even get a totally different look for this stitch pattern by manipulating the width and the length. Here's our lock stitch. Yeah, very, very nice. Now I'm going to look at the live chat real quick and see if there are any other suggestions for a pattern. And again, I'll just let you know in advance that if it's a pattern similar to the elephant, you know, we might have a little bit of a challenge. We might have a little bit of a challenge just because the size of our needle and the type of thread we're working with. It's not going to be fully embroidery compatible, but I'll give it a try. Certainly give it a try. All right, looks like Susie is suggesting pattern 123. Susie wants to, let's see what that looks like. That's also a leaf flower as well. And considering that Susie is a master gardener, I'm not surprised that she picked out a leaf flower pattern. 123. Oh yeah, that's a cool one. It almost looks like a sunflower or something like that. Not that I know much about flowers. I don't. I don't know much about flowers. All right, let's try this one. Let's try this one for Susie. Pattern 123. Pattern 123. All right, here we go. Let me see if I can get you down to the action a little bit. Whoops. Just totally bumped the thread. Thankfully, I bumped the material, I should say. Good thing the needle wasn't down. All right, here we go. And I've only got about probably 10, 12% of power on the foot controller right now. Starting to speed up a little bit more. All right, I'm going to stop right there. Oh, wow. Wow. Great pick, Susie. It's really a pretty one. Very, very pretty. Just imagine this with a high-grade embroidery thread and a more appropriately sized needle. The clarity on this for using a much larger needle and a generic thread is really quite impressive. But it might inspire someone to actually try a different setup, and that stitch pattern will come to life even more. We're almost creating a garden here, aren't we? We've got my leafy pattern. Now Susie's, maybe somebody else wants to pick out another leafy pattern. And then our kangaroo, which I believe they're herbivores, aren't they? They're not omnivores. They'll go in there and eat all of our flowers, and then Susie will be chasing them out of the garden. Beautiful stitching. Beautiful stitching. Here's our lock stitch. I think I have that kangaroo upside down right now. Let me turn the kangaroo right side up. Yep, I had him upside down. So this is our lock stitch now with our kangaroo not standing on its head. Beautiful stitching. Yeah, I'm looking at our top stitching. Our top stitching is almost a little bit on the light side. So I think I'm going to back off that upper tension just slightly. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, some beautiful outcomes from this 7530 that is soon to be heading back to Salt Lake City. Some beautiful outcomes. And again, just realizing our setup, we've got to be aware certain stitch patterns will have a little bit more success. Other stitch patterns will have a little bit less success because of our setup. And that's just part of the game, part of setting the machine up for success. Yeah. All right, let me see if there's any other patterns anyone picked. Otherwise, I'll pick a couple more and then we're going to wrap this up pretty quick. Oh, hello to Rose as well. Oh, Emma, looks like Emma picked another one, 153. I don't think we've done 153 yet. Let me see what 153 is. Oh boy. Oh boy. Emma's at it again. Emma's at it again. This is going to be like a candy cane. It's going to have a huge amount of tight overlay with our larger needle. It's going to give us some challenge. Well, I'll give it a try, but this pattern would be a lot better served with an embroidery light thread, maybe even a rayon thread, and certainly a smaller scale needle. Is such a troublemaker. I think it comes from her being from New York originally. Definitely because she came from New York. All right. Now, Emma, you're saying it's a thread eater. Yeah, it is, but you're not helping us out with your pattern selection. You gave me another thread eating pattern to sew with a harpoon style needle. Couldn't it? Oh, what a troublemaker. All right. I'm going to try this for Emma because I like her, but yeah, let the record reflect. This is another one of those stitches like the elephant. It's going to put us to a little bit of a challenge. Okay. 153. So again, 153, all we do is hit in the 09, 1, 5, 3, enter. Yeah, you can see our stitch width is going to be 9. Our stitch length is only going to be 18 and 18 millimeters compared to the 20 and 25 millimeter ones that we've had recently. So this will be a little bit of a challenge for us with our setup, but we'll give it a try for Emma and see how it turns out. I'm going to offset this even a little bit more. All right, keep your fingers crossed. This pattern is not going to be ideal for our setup, but we'll give it a try. All right, here we go. Let me try to bring you down to the action again. Hold on a second. All right, I'm going to stop right there. And while I give Emma a hard time about her pattern selections, she really does pick out some interesting ones. Really quite interesting. And this one is, I don't know what I would call it. It almost looks like a portal that you would step through into going back in time, and then you would be teleported back to a time when Isaac Singer was still walking the earth, and G. Michael Pfaff was still walking the earth, and we could actually talk to them and ask them about their machines and that sort of thing. That would be fun, wouldn't it? So here's the one that Emma just picked out. Um, Really quite a lovely pattern, isn't it? It's quite interesting. Almost could be a farmer's field with bales of hay or something, couldn't it? Very, very nice. And again, if you're just joining us, we're sewing with a standard Coats and Clark XP thread. It's not an embroidery thread, and we're sewing with a 9014 embroidery needle. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Here's our lock stitch. Yeah, yeah. I think we've done some really interesting things, haven't we? We've done some very interesting things. I'm going to go back to my other material now because I'm running out of space with as crooked as I sew. But yeah, so far we've had a little bit of fun doing these stitch patterns on the live stream today. We've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've done eight stitch patterns so far. And the only one that the machine struggled with a little bit was our elephant. It struggled with our elephant because it's such a narrow pattern with so much thread overlay with a larger needle and a standard type thread. It's just pushing that a little bit too far. But if you change your setup, you go to a smaller needle, go to an embroidery lighter thread, or maybe a rayon thread, and you could have a beautiful outcome with that stitch pattern. But these are all the patterns we did so far on the live stream. Oops, over there. There I am. Yeah. And remember, this 7530 arrived at the workshop. It was dead. It was dead in the water. This, in fact, is the machine. This particular machine is the one I believe that Jane told me that a student was winding a bobbin up here. They were winding a bobbin up here, and they somehow, this little opening right there, they somehow dropped a pin down through here, and it must have worked its way all the way down, made contact with this circuit board, and then went all the way down and made contact with the other circuit board. It blew both of the boards out, this board and then the base board as well. So it's great to have it back alive again and doing some great stitching for us today. Great to have it alive again. All right, I'll just look and see if there's any other final patterns that anyone wants to try to pick out, and then we'll wrap up this live stream. I might have to, I think we have room for probably about one, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, maybe like 3 more stitches, 4 more stitches.
Okay, got it in place. Hopefully I have it far enough back. Far enough back, hopefully. So let me see if there's any other stitch selections. Otherwise, I will go ahead and pick a couple and we'll wrap it up. Yeah, it does look 3D. I think that's what y'all saying is that last one that Emma picked. This one here has almost a 3D look to it, doesn't it? Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. Let's see here. Blah, 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 blah. All right, let's do stitch 110 for Emma. Let's do stitch 110 for Emma. No idea what it is, but I'm guessing it's going to be a thread eating stitch. Stitch 110. All right, so we hit 09110, enter. And this is another leafy flower design, a leafy flower design to go along with the one that I picked out and the one that Susie picked out. Let's see what we think of this one. And we don't have much material to work with. This is all I cut. I'm almost inclined to go back to this one so we can have most of the stitching on the same one. Let me do that. Just ignore the fact that I don't sew really straight. But that tri-motion, if you've ever worked with a machine that has that tri-motion function where it's manipulating the feed dogs back and forth, it's a little bit harder to keep that material on course because it's moving around, especially with a swivel foot like this. All right, let's give this one a go. This one is for Emma, and we'll see what we think of it. All right, here we go. Oh, interesting. Look at what's flashing. Our bobbin is ready to run out. Our bobbin is ready to run out, all because of Emma. Ha ha! I'll try to finish off this stitch line. Maybe we'll call this the end of the live stream. All right, here we go. Hopefully we have enough to finish this stitch line. And we didn't make it. We ran out. We ran out about halfway down. I couldn't see that behind there. That's as far as we got before we ran out of bobbin thread. Oh my goodness. That's okay. We can at least get a glimpse of what the pattern looks like. I'm going to check our runtime. Maybe we'll wind another bobbin, but oh, and then look at what I did. Then I stitched over it on the backside. Oh my gosh. If you want to be on a channel where a person is willing to make mistakes, that's me. Which is kind of a bummer because then we covered up Emma's pattern a little bit on the back, but that's okay. I'll fix it. All right. So this is the leafy pattern before we ran out of bobbin thread. We didn't get nearly as far. I thought we'd get a little bit further down. But it's a beautiful pattern. Very, very nice pattern that Emma picked after our other 3D pattern here, which is really super cool. That's our lock stitch. Yeah. So let's see here. take a look at what we did on this live stream today. I'll show you the front of it. That way I don't have to show you the part that I sewed over again. So we started out on the bottom here with this super cool pattern. I want to say it was 169 maybe. Let me see. Yeah, 169. We started with 169. Actually, that's not true. We started with Susie's number 58, and then we went to Emma's 66, and then we did this one here, which is 169. Then we did 177, the elephant one, which we struggle with a little bit because of our setup. Then we went on to the kangaroo. We did a leafy one, a flower one, and then we did this 3D one that Emma just picked out. And then we did this one until we ran out of bobbin thread. So, yeah, you got to have a lot of bobbins available for this machine. As a matter of fact, now that I'm thinking about it, we have our accessory tray. Let's see if we have one that's already wound up. Yeah, we won't be matching color. Yeah, let's see. That's going to be darker. Not a single one with white thread. What's going on with that? Not a single one with white thread. Jiminy crickets. Well, I'll consider the deal done. We could do so many more patterns on this machine, so many more patterns, but I think we'll stop where we're at because we're at about 2 hours and 17 minutes. So anyway, we did all of these patterns. We got about a quarter of the way through that one. Beautiful results. Just ignore that. That was part of my plan right there. No, it wasn't. Part of the 3D plan there. And then we did these two as well. This is another thread eater here as well. We did a lot of thread eating stitches, didn't we? But it's so great to have one of the two machines back online for Jane. She's actually in class as we speak. And I don't know if her students are able to see any of this or not, but a quick shout out to the students in Salt Lake City, Utah, learning under the tutelage of Jane as she teaches you the wonders of sewing, the mastery of sewing, and gets you inspired to try it out at this stage in your life and maybe to continue doing it for the rest of your life. To become a lifelong sewist. That really is the goal, I think, that we're hoping for all of our young people, that they'll give sewing a try and get inspired to create something. So I think at this point we will wrap it up. I'll put on a little bit more music to kind of end us with, and I'll wind a bobbin for Jane so that when this machine leaves the workshop soon, it'll have a full bobbin. Of course, depending on the stitch selection, that won't last long. That won't last long. They do go quick, don't they? They do go quick. Okay, let me see. Voice recorder. List. Where did my polka music go? There it is. Found it. All right, take care, everybody. God bless. Thank you to the leadership team for taking care of the family, and for everyone that jumped in and gave us a stitch pattern to try. Again, just take into account when you're working with a machine like this that your setup will play into the game of what stitch output you get. So be smarter than I am. If you do this at home with your 7530, get yourself a 70 or a size 75 embroidery needle, get some specialty thread, sit down and have a lot of fun. This is a fabulous German engineered, German made sewing machine. Soon to be living back in Utah again. All right, take care.